In this video, we are going to test how to use a manual or customized mapping in an object that is more organic or less um, organized and or not using flat surfaces. And the first thing when you're modeling an object, you always want to see what the model gave you as a planar map or a map by itself. In this object, I am going to start by testing the UV map with a automatic mapping to see what automatic mapping does. It's always good to test out. Maybe automatic mapping may give you something. And here is there is not much that I can use with it because the object, you can see all the seams going all over the place, so automatic map wouldn't do it. So how can we approach this? We want to think of it as a way to create a sim as if you're creating a wrapper for it. I'm going to create sims, one that goes around the sole. Of course, there's a flat surface, it's very easy to identify. And we probably will create one that you can put it together, or better, have it have a separation here inside of the leg. Sometimes people create it back here on this side of the leg. If you were going to be creating some sort of like a mapping for something like a body, most likely you're going to create it a seam here. Maybe you can cut somehow there, and then you will create another cut on this other side. That way you can create kind of vest type of approach to it. Alright, let's do the leg. So we're going to do the leg. I'm going to isolate it. I'm going to start by creating a selection to the plane that's easy. The bottom of the foot makes it a lot easier. So I'm going to go and select these four faces. I'm going to go shift and greater than sign to increase my selection. I'm going to go to then shift and click on the parts that I need to add to that object, and I am going to create a UV planar mapping. In this case, the planar map is going to be on the vertical. Let me see if I can see the planar mapping window. So let's see. I'm going to see if I can call the planar mapping window here. There we go. And I'm going to, in this case, use the y-axis. You can see my y here. So my y-axis, I'm going to project. And if I call my UV editor, you can see that right away it creates the map, which I'm going to move to the side here. Okay, so I'm now going to create the rest of it. So I created the first one. Now I need to create, as I said, the sim in the part that is least visible. In this case, I'm going to keep it in this side. That means I'm going to create two projections that are going to allow me to have let me work here on this side. Shift I to isolate that. Allow me to select and create a sim right here. That means that I'm going to select these faces, the back faces. Make sure I don't select the bottom, because the bottom already part of the map. I'm going to go back to my perspective view here, and I'm going to use create an uneven selection. So I'm going to uncheck these guys here. That way my selection is clean, and I need to select this guy because this guy didn't make it into the sole selection. On this other side, I make sure that whatever comes across here, I'm going to continue with that same row. Here's a bit more irregular, that's fine. Add those. I'm gonna add these two. There we go. And I'm gonna remove these ones from the front selection and add this one and that one. And deselect those. Okay, let me use lookup 4 here just to make sure that I didn't select anything else beyond what I wanted. That's good. And now I'm going to create another planar mapping, but in this case it's going to be on the Z because it's going to project on this direction down there. So I'm going to try to do that planar mapping. I'm going to say do the Z axis and then just project. Once that happens, I can find the project happening there. So I'm just going to grab it and move it. There we go. So the only thing that is left is all these guys, which are all the faces that belong to the front, which makes it very easy because I just need to do another planar for that one. Let me see. Yeah, I'm just going to make another planar for that. Planar mapping. In this case, I'm going to do it also in Z because it's going in that direction. So I'm going to apply that. That makes it, and that creates a second selection here. So I have all my faces with some sort of projection. Now there is one thing though, that in the last two that I did, the last planars, both of them apply from Z, but both of them are applying from the front and from the back. At least that's what I wanted it to do. But I know that Maya is going to give me one of those is going to be reversed because actually Maya projected only from the positive to the negative. So that means that one of them are backwards. So I'm going to do is backwards. So I'm going to turn on the checker box here to be able to see, and this one is not backwards because the letters are written correctly. This one is backwards. I can see that. I can see also, of course, the distortion of the checkerboard, how badly the UVs are, so that's not done yet. That means that these faces, meaning that one, double click on that, those faces need to be flipped. So the best way to flip it is opening that UV toolkit that comes with a UV editor, and in the transform, I'm going to scroll down, I'm going to go back on the flip and flip it on mu. I say flip, and that way they get it that way. When I turn it on, I get to see, and I see now that the letters are correct there, and they are correct here. They are stretching, but they are correct. There is one point here that we want to mention also, and it is that we have these buttons here that show the amount of distortion that you have on your UVs. So if I turn it on here, you see that the red seems that it's okay, but the blue is showing some big distortion. This one shows it even better. Whatever is blue and white looks okay. Whatever is red, the texture is going to distort very badly. So we want to get rid of that red and blue by simplifying it. Okay, so now that I have my objects all mapped, but they're still separate, I need to stitch them together. I need to leave where my seam is going to be. So that means this part I'm not going to stitch together, but I'm going to stitch together the exterior, which I want them to be all in a single continued surface. So I'm going to go and grab these edges from here. I'm shift selecting down this path. That way I am, because it is a very irregular path, I cannot shift select all the way down to the bottom. Okay, so I'm just going to go down there, and this last one too. And you can see in your UV editor that when you do that selected, you can see that the edges on these two sides, only those which are the ones that are sharing these edges, are selected. let me double check. I didn't select anything but I don't want it to do it up here because I don't want it to do generate distortion up there. You need to wrap it there. And I'm going to try to combine and connect them here. So I'm going to say cut, move and saw. If you open it up, it tells you the option to limit the shell size to number of faces. You can do that if you want. I'm not going to do that. I'm just simply going to say move and saw. And that way the program moves all those edges and stitches them together in a single map now. Now if I look at my object, you're gonna see that if I turn on the distortion, there is still severe amount of texture distortion and UV distortion overlapping. That is not a good thing to do. So we need to relax it. One of the tools that I use for that is under modify, unfold. Usually I don't change any settings, but unfold 3D iterations is once. You can do it twice or three times. That means the code will pass multiple times until it relaxes it. And thinking that the map 1024 by 1024, as if you were going to do a texture of that big size. If you have a larger texture, probably you'll do a more detailed relaxing unfolding. So I'm going to just apply and close, and Maya right away goes and does what it needs to do. It regenerates, it splits everything. So now if I look at the effect, it's a little bit better without being perfect. It's a little bit better. There is some red, yes, there is some blue, but they're not that intense anymore. So and this one is completely blue, which means there is no overlapping at all. When you have red, there was overlapping there, showing up very badly. So we're good with that. And now I'm gonna just go and grab this shell. I'm gonna grab this shell. I'm gonna say modify, layout, let Maya organize it for you. Boop, it does organize it. It's not bad, but it could be better. What I mean by that is that I have a lot of space that is being wasted back here, and I think I can do a better job by doing it manually. So I'm going to go and rotate this guy around here. I'm going to try to move it here to this side a little bit, see if I can scale up both so that I can make better use of my UV space. Remember, you want to stay inside of the quadrant. You don't want to be outside of the quadrant. This is a little bit better. It gives me a better chance to work with my object and with my texture. And the best of all, it just turns upside down, but it's not that big of a deal. The best of all, if you can see, my checkered feels a lot more consistent. Yes, I have a sim inside, but that was expected, planned from the beginning. But the rest of it, it's pretty reliable, pretty good. Yeah, the fact that it's kind of turned upside down, it's fine. I'm gonna go and paint it in Photoshop or any other program that need to do texturing, so it won't matter. It doesn't matter if it is upside down. Alright, that's the end of it. Hopefully this will help you in creating your customized UV maps.